Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a conflict that feels ancient, doesn't it?
It really does.
But it actually has a surprisingly recent origin. Our mission here is to use the sources you've given us, basically give you a shortcut to understanding this really complex relationship between Israel and Iran
Yeah, looking at the key players, their motivations.
and the global stakes, which are, well, pretty significant.
Absolutely. We'll trace how things got so tense, look at the different layers of animosity and what it all means for, the wider region in the world.
It's fascinating, like you said, how much has changed in just, what, 4 or 5 decades?
It really is quite striking when you look at the history.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our main source, why do Israel and Iran hate each other? It kicks off with something that honestly surprised me a bit.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It wasn't always this way. I mean, before 1979, Iran and Israel actually had, well, decent ties. Cooperative, even.
That's right. It's a crucial point. People often assume this hatred goes back forever, but it doesn't. They cooperated on intelligence, even some military aspects.
It completely changes the story, right? It suggests this current conflict isn't some ancient feud, but more of a modern invention based on ideology.
Exactly. And that invention really kicked off, as you said, in 1979. The Islamic Revolution just changed everything for Iran.
It became a religious regime, fundamentally shifting its view of the world, and particularly Israel.
It wasn't just politics anymore. It became this intense ideological clash. Iran started calling Israel the Zionist enemy.
Which is loaded language. It's not just disagreement, it's questioning Israel's right to exist.
Precisely. That elevates the conflict dramatically. And they started actively supporting groups hostile to Israel, like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas.
So, flipping that from Israel's side, they then start seeing Iran as, well, an existential threat.
Understandably so, from their perspective.
Yeah, this fear driven by Iran funding groups they see as terrorists, and crucially, this relentless push for what Israel is convinced is a nuclear weapon.
Which brings us right to those nuclear tensions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's maybe the most dangerous part of this.
You think so?
Well, Iran insists, loudly and consistently that its program is purely peaceful. Energy research.
And Israel just doesn't buy it, not for a second.
No. And they've reportedly taken direct action sabotage, cyber attacks on facilities, even assassinations of scientists involved in the program, trying to slow it down, disrupt it.
It's like something out of a spy novel, but with incredibly high stakes.
Extremely high. And beyond the nuclear issue, there's this ongoing kind of shadow war.
Right, you hear that term a lot. What does that actually involve? It sounds murky.
It is murky. It means things like Israel bombing Iranian positions or weapons shipments in Syria pretty regularly, trying to prevent weapons reaching Hezbollah, for instance.
Okay, so direct but maybe deniable actions.
Exactly. And Iran hits back, but often indirectly, using proxy militias in Iraq, Syria, Yemen to attack Israeli or sometimes U.S. interests. Plus, drone attacks launched by proxies, cyber attacks, these mysterious explosions on ships linked to either country.
It's this constant, simmering conflict just below the threshold of all-out war.
That's a good way to put it. A dangerous game of tit for tat, always risking escalation.
And speaking of escalation, things really ramped up recently, didn't they, after the Hamas attack in late 2023?
Oh, significantly. Iran-backed groups across the region increased their attacks. Hezbollah on the northern border, Houthis in Yemen targeting shipping.
And then the big one, April 2024, Iran launching that huge drone and missile attack directly at Israel. That felt like a major shift.
It was unprecedented. A direct state-on-state attack of that scale, even though most were intercepted thanks to Israeli defenses and help from allies.
Like the U.S., Jordan.
Right. It showed a willingness from Iran to engage directly, which crossed a long-standing threshold.
So, let's zoom out. What does this all mean for everyone else? This isn't just happening in a vacuum.
Definitely not. Our sources are clear. This has major global implications. You've got the U.S. firmly backing Israel, its key ally in the region.
While Iran is, openly trying to increase its influence, challenging the U.S. and its allies, aiming for regional dominance.
It creates these really tense geopolitical fault lines running through the Middle East.
And the outlook for peace. Our sources seem pretty pessimistic.
Very pessimistic, unfortunately. The ideological gap is just too wide right now. The mistrust is incredibly deep.
So peace seems unlikely, but war?
War remains a real possibility, especially, and this is the nightmare scenario for many, if Iran actually gets a nuclear bomb. Israel has repeatedly said it won't allow that.
Which could trigger a preemptive strike, maybe, leading to a much wider conflict.
That's the fear. A conflict could disrupt global energy supplies, draw in other powers. The consequences could be truly global.
So, thinking about all this deep dive, what are those unseen ripples? What's the most maybe unexpected way this conflict could reshape things globally in the next few years? What stands out to you as really concerning?
Hmm, that's a tough question. Maybe it's the potential for miscalculation in that shadow war. One drone strike, one sabotage event goes wrong, and suddenly you're in a full-blown crisis nobody actually wanted. That constant risk is deeply concerning.
That constant balancing act on the edge. Okay, that's our deep dive into the really complex, really critical relationship between Israel and Iran. We hope this has given you a clearer, maybe more informed perspective on what's truly a pivotal global issue.
Yeah, remember, understanding these dynamics, even the uncomfortable parts, it's just key to making sense of the world we're in.
Join us next time for another deep dive into the information that matters to you. Until then, stay curious.